there was a discussion today on Blue Sky amongst a bunch of mainly trans women here, which got onto healthcare, and it reminded me of something. So we were talking about grim stuff that you get asked when trying to get healthcare for transition. And if you haven't personally gone through this process, or you live somewhere that has like informed consent, or you just were able to find a good doctor straight away, or you did things DIY, you might not know how ridiculous it is. And I wanted to share this like brief summary of what we're talking about, and then this like nightmare scenario I had, and why maybe even the clickbait like summary of this section is why I kind of like do recommend lying to doctors, which sounds really bad, so just bear with me for the justification. But one of the things that people were talking about, so here typewriter monkey, who's someone from Norway, saying just talking about what Norway has going on, and saying it's the same kind of people who say asking questions about how you masturbated as a teenager. And then here it's Poppy, Sister Sarah, Goat Sarah, whatever, here saying nobody's ever asked me that, but if they would, I'd tell them what I was thinking about your mum. And it reminded me of the actual first question that I was asked by any doctor, any medical professional, when I asked to be referred to the gender clinic. I said I was quite nervous, and I walked in to the doctor, and it was this nice old man, and I was like, I think I might be trans, and I would like you to refer me to the gender identity clinic service in the NHS. And I had like a piece of paper, I'd written out my little thing, and he was like, oh, do you have sex with men or women? I was like, I was so not ready for that to be the first question. I was like, oh, what? Why is that relevant? And he asked a few more weird questions, and then he was just like, oh, I don't know anything about this at all. What do I do? And luckily I'd like prepared, and I was like, oh, you need to go on their website and you can send a referral here. But it like really caught me off guard. It like seems weirdly intrusive, and like, what's the point of that? But also, when I then got to the gender clinic years later, because they completely waste your time on purpose, waste a load of the public's money on pointless gatekeeping, which doesn't need to be there at all. The gender identity clinic doctors asked me, like, what I'm attracted to, what I think of when I masturbate. Do I masturbate? Who do I have sex with? What kind of sex I have? Like, all of this kind of weird, intrusive, personal questions. They're just completely irrelevant. Like, none of this actually matters. If you were, like, you could have questions. If you were going for genital surgery, like, what kind of sex do you have, or what kind of sex are you expecting to have after genital surgery? Because we just want to make sure you know things are going to change. But obviously, like, you should know that already when you're... Anyway, there's no real justification for this apart from they are looking for excuses to hold you, or like come up with a reason to deny you healthcare. It's not like, oh, here's the list of criteria and we'll see what the best treatment for you is based on, your answers to these things. It's, we are looking for something where you might say something that we're not expecting or isn't on our like tick list of ideal things, and we can use that as an excuse to take healthcare away from you, or to ban you from this or whatever. And you might think, oh, Katie, you're just like a crazy trans activist. You're just lying about this for us. I have some of my close friends, and I have a personal story relating to this. Some of my close friends have similar stories where, for example, I know actually two women who went in for one of their appointments to the gender clinic, just wearing casual clothes, and they just happened to pick like jeans and a t-shirt, which I don't know if you've ever been outside, but like some cis women wear jeans and a t-shirt, and both of these women who are my friends, who I trust, said that it was commented on that they either were like, why did you not dress properly? Are you not putting any effort? Do you not really want to transition? And basically that whole appointment was wasted. They were expecting to get prescribed that time, and they were told basically, you're not trying hard enough, go away and come back in 6 months, because they always like put months and months between all these appointments for absolutely no reason. And like in this kind of situation, that there's no reason for that. There's no like justification. There's no like evidence to say that trans women who like wearing jeans more than they like wearing a skirt are less likely to benefit from medical transition, or they're more likely to be a danger to society or anything like that. It's literally just a purity test. It's them looking for an excuse to hold you back and deny you healthcare. And it's the same with these questions about your sex life. I, at the time that they were asking me these questions, I really trusted doctors because, I mean, when I grew up, back in my day, when things were good, the NHS actually worked, and I had a few medical problems growing up. I had asthma, and I've had like pneumonia before, and like had like some cyst. Anyway, that sounds really grim. I had a cyst on my neck cut out. Anyway, I'd interacted with doctors a few times, but always as like a middle-class, able-bodied white person. So it always went really well for me. I just like blindly trusted doctors, that they were people in society who always had my best interest at heart. And that's the view that I held even when I was going to these gender identity clinic things, because I was scared about transition. I really, I wanted to know it was the right thing for me. I wanted to tell them all the stuff and them to actually diagnose me, because that's what I believed was the situation that they were trying to do. So I was quite honest about it. And when they asked about my sex life and my masturbation habits and stuff, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm quite boring and vanilla in that sense. And there would be nothing that I could say that would be shocking, or it could ever give them an excuse to hold me back. But I can certainly imagine that there are things you could say which, not like, if you said like, oh, I'm actually the leader of a mega church and I sexually assaulted a 12-year-old, like this, we're relating to our last segment that we covered. But no, if you said something like that, whatever. But it's more that I think if you said that you had an interesting sex life in a way that is true for a decent number of cis people, not some specific trans thing, it will give them an excuse to like hold you back, or be suspicious of whether you're really trans, or just waste a load of time asking loads more questions about it. Like, it's not actually in the diagnosis criteria. What type of sex you enjoy is, or like what you think of when you masturbate, it's not actually relevant to whether trans healthcare is good for you. But I do have another example of when it personally affected me, when I did then realize that, like, I guess I was suspicious when they're asking me all these weird questions. I was like, I know that this is like just sexist. It's just prejudice. Why are you saying, like, they were asking questions about like, my fashion choices and stuff as well. Like, oh, why have you chosen to wear that and stuff? And like, because I thought it looked nice. Like, why have you chosen to wear that, you fucking dickhead? Like, what is this related? Or it was already making me suspicious, but I was still believing that overall the doctors had my best interest at heart, and all of the professionals in this, in this thing. And when you, or at least when I was there, when you start, you get like assigned a therapist basically, and it's someone who you can allegedly talk to any point. But you're also like mandated, you have to see them a certain amount of times. So you have to like book in the next appointment. And I was having to take days off work and spend money to get to this place to talk to this therapist as well as to see the doctor separately. And it was always, I mean, not entirely a waste of time. I had already seen a therapist privately about trans stuff. So most of the like transition related stuff wasn't stressing me out anymore. But sometimes there would be some horrible politics stuff, and I benefited, I feel, from talking to a therapist. And I just thought it was like a normal therapist that the NHS just provided, and that seems like a good idea. But then I booked in to have face surgery as part of my transition privately, okay? Nothing to do with the NHS, not even in the UK. I spent my own money on it, like my life savings, and I booked it in for some time in advance. I think between having a consultation and then actually going for surgery was like a full year. And I like paid the money and like booked in this date. And I was like crazy nervous about it, like terrified. I had never had any surgeries before. I was really terrified of the anesthetic. And like being unconscious or like dying on the operating table, like all of the standard surgery fears, I'm sure, but like particularly terrified. Like I was having nightmares about it and all kinds of stuff. Turns out it's actually fine. And after having one surgery, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not scared of this anymore. Like the ultimate exposure therapy. I was absolutely fucking terrified in the first one. The second one, I was just like, be all right. Even though it was way more intense. Anyway, as it was coming up to this surgery date, and it was just like 1 month away or something, and I was at to like book all the flights and all this kind of stuff. I was just terrified, and it was like one of the main things on my mind. And I told the therapist, who I'd seen every couple of months, and she asked like, oh, how are you doing? And I was like, I was really terrified. I was like, I feel terrified and I'm worried that I won't be able to go through with it. I didn't actually say like, oh, I think I won't go through with it or anything. But I was like, I'm worried that I won't be able to because I'm so scared of it. And like, I've spent my life savings on this, and I've like got my friends and family all booked to come out and support me, and I've like booked this place to stay, and I couldn't back on it. I couldn't go back on it now. But I'm worried, there's just the fear I have, and that was like how I explained it. Anyway, this is to do with, again, a private face surgery. Facial surgery isn't like a required part of transition, and it's not something that most people can even afford. Like, I was very fortunate to be in the position where I could. Anyway, I told this therapist in confidence, because therapists, at least all the therapists I've ever interacted with in my life, which a few, have always had this clause of like, I will keep everything you say private unless I'm worried that you'll hurt yourself or other people. And there was absolutely no indication of that at all. I never felt or said anything as much. I was never like, I'm so scared of this surgery that I might hurt myself. Not even like a thing that passed my mind at all, or would have mentioned. I was just like, what happens if I get to the day of the surgery and I wake up and then I just like lock myself in the toilet? Like that was the kind of thing I was worried about happening. And that's the kind of thing I said to, it always reminded me of that like Simpsons episode where Grandpa Simpson needs a new kidney and Homer's gonna donate the kidney, and they're like, thanks for being so brave, Homer, and they like turn around and the window's open and he's just running off into the distance. Like that's what I kept thinking. Like, what if I do that? Didn't do that at all. It was fine. But anyway, I said that to the therapist, and I expected that was that. Like, she would just keep it to herself. Some short time later, like lightning fast speed by the gender identity clinic's time frame, maybe like a week later or something, the doctor rang me, which he'd never done before. Usually I had to, find time for appointments, and it was usually a total faff, and everything's on a scale of months. And then suddenly this guy's ringing me like a week later, while I'm at work. I was lucky I could pick up, and he was just like, oh, Katie, I hear that you're thinking of detransitioning, and I was wondering, should I stop your medication then? And I was like, what? I remember being like at my work, sometimes when you get a phone call, you don't, because it's like an open plan office, you don't just want to like take it there because you're sitting next to people. So sometimes you like get up and go and find like there's some like small rooms to have small meetings in and stuff, so you can do a phone call. I remember like walking along, like trying to find one and just being like, wow, what? I didn't even know what to say. Like, where the fuck has this come from? And I was like, no, absolutely not. Like, where have you got this idea from? And he was like, oh, this person, I was gonna say her name then. I won't for now. Your therapist told me that you were thinking of detransitioning. I was like, no, I didn't say that. I'm not considering that. Like, I've got a surgery booked in for like 3 weeks. Like, what are you talking about? I do not want you to stop my medication. He was like, oh, okay then. And it's like, that was it. And I was really scared that they were still gonna stop my, and like, because I'd been on like HRT with a private organization for like a year before I got into the NHS, and then moved over to the NHS. I was like, I don't want you to stop like my access to hormones now. Like crazy. Like I'd been out on transition for like 2 years at that point or something. Just I was scared they were going to do it. I like sent them a letter or something and making sure that they weren't going to. But then I have to book in with it. Like if this was a therapist I was free to fire or whatever anytime, I would have never talked to her again. Like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? Like, she lied. She just lied about me. Like totally a lie. But I'm like required to see her for the whole process because I was hoping to get like another surgery on the NHS. So I had to go along with this GIC thing for who knows how much longer. And then like, so the next time I saw her, which was probably like after face surgery, maybe just before, she was like, how's everything going? I was like, I just thought, like, I can't tell you. There's you anything I say, you could just lie about me and use it to try and like take away my healthcare. Like, what if you're willing to try and take away my healthcare for like lying about something, then what else are you willing to do? Like, to lie that I'm crazy, or to lie that like I shouldn't have rights, or like who knows? Like, what? Like, you place a lot of trust in a therapist, and I just instantly had no trust. So I just lied to her. I don't know how many times more I had to see her, like a handful of times, up to 5 or something. I just totally, to her face, I don't like, almost I don't like lying. Like, for me, part of the best thing about coming out was that I no longer had to have a secret, and I no longer had to lie to anyone. And that, I'm sure if you follow me on any internet stuff, I'm a loudmouth who's not very good at keeping anything secret. I just lied to her, and I think that was the correct thing to do. Like, I don't have any regrets for that. I regret being gullible enough to think that she had my best interests at heart. I regret trusting the doctors to do the right thing, and giving them, like, not just dancing the dance. Like, and after that, when they eventually, so the system is you get discharged once you've had all of the referrals and recommendations and all this kind of stuff. So discharge doesn't mean like you're not fit to be their patient anymore or anything. It literally means, right, you got to the end, you've done all the things, so now you can just go off into the world and you don't need their help anymore. After they discharged me, I went to a GP and carried on my hormones as normal, and that's fine. And then I moved house and I found a new GP, and I asked them to repeat my prescription. I've talked about it in the show before, but they just said no. They're just like, we're not going to repeat your prescription. And I had to do like a middle-class white woman and refuse to leave until they did it. But then, like, I just realized that there are just doctors and therapists and people out there who are like part of the gender identity clinic system, who are literally there to try and cause you like harm, basically, to try and I, I don't like saying to try and slow you down, but I don't know how else to describe it or to like hold you back. But that is what they're trying to do. They're trying to prevent transition from happening. They're trying to find excuses to deny you trans healthcare. But like that's what gatekeeping is. It's not about, oh, we need to make sure we only give people who need it the treatment or anything. It's not like, you've got some condition, and if we give you this medicine, then it'll make your life better. But if you don't have this condition and we give you the medicine, it'll make your life worse. I mean, that is ideally how it should be, but that isn't the reality, at least of the NHS England's gender identity clinics. They're not trying to do what's best for people. They're trying to prevent transition. They're trying to create not just hurdles. It's not like, oh yeah, well, once you jump this high, we'll let you do it. It's like, oh, we're going to put in as many hurdles as we can until you fall down. Like, we're going to see if we can make you fall down. We're going to like stick our foot out and try and trip you up, just with the goal of trying to trip some people up. So I think if you feel like you have to work out if you can trust, every doctor or therapist you interact with. And that is really hard because obviously like the gender critical ones are going to lie. They're going to lie to you. They'll lie to other patients. They'll lie to their employers or whatever. And they just do not have your best interests at heart. But you need to work out which ones do. And just importantly, just know that there are some who are actively trying to harm you. And they have power over you. And you've got to just get through the system. You really need to not like the problem with all this gatekeeping stuff and all these arbitrary things. If I needed a therapist and I couldn't afford one, and the NHS provided me one, that could be really beneficial to my life. If I then find out that she's lying to try and like harm me and I can't trust her, that's like made my life worse. It's just taken away a vital resource that I'd need. But also now I feel like I'm forced to lie, which is a bad thing. And now if I actually needed the support and I wasn't sure if I was trans or I wasn't sure if I wanted a certain treatment or something, now I'm in a position where I have no support. And I know that if I don't lie, I will get nothing. So then they're encouraging people to lie and to not be honest with even themselves. And this is exactly how you end up with high detransition rates, like high regret rates, at least. Like I know one lady who I was talking to, and she didn't ever want genital surgery, but literally had to sign up to it because when she transitioned in the 80s or something, it was like, if you're not someone who wants genital surgery, then we won't give you any hormones. And she had it and she like regrets it. And she's still like a trans woman. She just didn't want genital surgery, and she feels like she had to lie to get genital surgery that she didn't even want in order to get every other part of trans healthcare. And that is an example of someone who regrets a part of their transition, though not the whole thing. And that wouldn't be a position that she was in if there wasn't a system set up to gatekeep people. And I'm fortunate that I worked out what I needed with the help of a private therapist and my friends and family and stuff. And I was capable of doing all the research, and I understood what all the things were. And I'm in a very fortunate position. Not everyone else is. There will be people who aren't sure and who will go and they will have this NHS therapist who is meant to be helping them through the decision, or a doctor who's meant to be prescribing them, and they'll realize they can't trust them. Like, I'm not like some genius here. I was an idiot. It took me a long time to realize I can't trust them. I was overly trusting. People work out that they can't trust them. Like, it's like common knowledge amongst trans women, at least in the UK, that you just can't trust the gender identity people, and you have to like dress a certain way and say certain things to get taken seriously. It's almost like a guide on how to act stereotypically 1950s feminine in order to get help. And if that's the case, then people who aren't sure, who need the support, won't get it. They'll have to lie to be taken seriously at all, and they'll be the ones who are more likely to be in a position where they regret transition. So the whole system is a fucking joke. Like the gender identity clinics should be shut down, and it should just be the same as everything else. They don't need specialist stuff. Where specialists are needed. Sorry, this is quite a long rant, but where specialists are needed for trans healthcare is things like you can't just have any old surgeon do genital surgery. Like, you need a specialist. You need someone who knows what they're doing, who's like, that's their thing. But for prescribing hormones, why, like, the doctors I saw weren't specialists in that at all. They didn't even look at my levels or anything. They were just there to ask me how I masturbate and ask me whether I'm detransitioning because I'm scared of surgery. Like, then just complete waste of money and time. They're bad for trans people. There's no reason why your GP can't prescribe it. Yeah, the whole system is just bullshit. And like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, it's crazy activist, whatever, my story is not rare. Like, my specific one might be different to other people's specific ones, but like, this thread that caused me to think of this, like, it's just full of trans people saying they've encountered similar things or their friends have encountered similar things. It's like common knowledge. And it's not just trans people either. Like, one of my close friends is disabled in like later life, and she like had a physical disability, and the first doctor she saw just said that she was like, literally just said she was delusional, and like banned her from getting treatment. And it took like a whole year of battling with other doctors in order to reverse that initial thing, and now gets treatment, and it's really beneficial. Like, I've talked to a few disabled people who've had similar things. If you are in the category that I used to be in, of like middle-class white cis man appearing person who has like conditions like asthma or a cyst on their neck, you might well never experience anything like this, and you will have blind trust in doctors, and you'll listen to me saying this and you'll be like, this sounds crazy. This can't be true. And I assure you, I believed that until it happened to me and my friends and the entire community countless times, and like another community who's also marginalized. And now I just know, like, it's just bullshit. I don't know if it's most or just some, but certainly a large portion of certainly the trans healthcare gender identity clinic pathway do not have your best interest in heart. I do not trust them at all. And now every time I interact with a doctor, I'm worried that they are potentially someone who is like politically opposed to me existing, or at the very least has such negative stereotypes about what a trans person is. They need to ask things like what I find sexually attractive before they'll treat me.